Hey students, this is Mrs. Tran-Bloom. All right guys, so today we are going to review Algebra 1, writing linear equations, okay? Now when we mention the word slope, it's the same thing as stating the rate of change. Now back in Algebra 1, many of you were studying the slope. So many of you already know the slope is m equals y2 minus y1 all over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Now, in some cases, some teachers might use y1 minus y2, then that means the denominator must also have x1 minus x2. There are a few different types of slope, okay? Obviously, we could have a positive slope. So if it's a positive slope, student, you're going to see a line that's going to go increasing to the right. You could also see a negative slope. A negative slope is going to be its other side. You're going to see a line going to the left. Now, what is a line with no slope, you ask? A line with no slope, meaning you might see a line anywhere that's going to be up and down. In this case, it's going to be vertical. Now, what about zero slope? Zero slope is you're going to see a line, not vertical. You're going to see a horizontal line. So it could be on the top, could be on the bottom, but as long as horizontal. Now, some students said, well, I learned this trick from my Algebra 1 class. No slope, students, when you can make an n out of that, okay? Zero slope is when you can make a z out of that line. So that's how you kind of helps you guys out in memorizing that. Examples 1 to 4 says, find the slope of the line going through each set of points. So again, the formula for your slope, you can pick either this one or this one. That's really up to you. But first, if you're still confused on this, I suggest going in and writing these as order pairs. Okay, so x1 comma y1, x2 comma y2. So when we use the formula y2, let's use this one, minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. Well, we know y2 is 8, so 8 minus y1 is 5 all over x2 is 9 minus x1 is 3. Yes, we do need to simplify this. 8 minus 5 is 3. 9 minus 3 is 6. We need to reduce this down to 1 over 2. Now, to reduce it, we have to divide it by the same identical number. So what we divide to the top, we divide to the bottom, and then we box this up. That's the slope. All right. Now, remember, the beautiful thing about taking notes via your video is that you can pause, you can rewind, you can do it again, okay? All right, let's do example 2 again, students. The slope is y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. Go in and label these, okay? So x1 comma y1. This is the second point. That's why it's called x sub 2, y sub 2. Then as you can see, we're going to use this. This is going to be your y sub 2 minus, this is your y sub 1. So negative 11 all over, I'm going to erase, all over, this is your x2, so negative 20, minus, this is your x1, so negative 7. Two negative, students, we could change that to a positive. Then this will help us out. Negative 37 and a positive 11 will give us a negative 26 all over. A negative 20 and a positive 7 is going to give us a negative 13. Two negatives dividing each other will give us a positive answer. Now my question to you is, can I reduce this at all? We know it's going to be a positive answer, but can I reduce? 13 is a prime, okay? But we can divide both top and bottom by a negative 13, right? So that's why we can end up with a positive answer. Well, negative 26 divided by negative 13 on the numerator, that's going to give us a positive 2. Negative 13 divided by negative 13 and the denominator is 1. So we can have it as 2 over 1, students, or we can just say the slope is 2. Now the slope is rise over run, so if you write 2 over 1, then that helps you count going up 2 and to the right 1, that's okay. But if you know that all whole number is going to have a denominator of 1, and that's, you can just simply write it as 2. Okay. Let's do example 3 here. So example 3, similarly, we have 2 points. We have 5, 18, so we can label it x1, y1, and then this is going to be our x2, y2, okay? And again, the slope is going to be, now if you want to change it up to y1 minus y2, that's okay too, as long as the denominator is the same. So we're just going to keep it consistent as y2 minus y1. That means the denominator is x2 minus x1, okay? So y2 is 18. So we're going to write 18 minus y1 happens to be also 18 all over, I'm going to erase, x2 is 0 minus x1 is going to be 5. 18 minus 18 is 0 on the numerator. 0 minus 5 is negative 5, so this is going to be 0. 0 divide any number is going to be 0, students. So this is going to have a slope of 0. Now, why does it have a slope of 0? That doesn't make sense. Well, yes, it does. So as you can see, I'm going to plot out our 2 points, okay? Let's say that this is 5 and this is 18 up here. Okay, I'm labeling this. Now, if I make a dot at 5, 18 is right there. And remember, 0, 18 is right here as well. If we were to connect these 2 dots to make a line, it is a horizontal line, and that's why it's a 0 slope. Remember, a 0 slope meaning that you can make a z out of that. One more example in our slope. So similarly, let's write m equals y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So let's go and label which one is which. So this is going to be our x1, y1. This is going to be our x2, y2. And this is your y2, so that's 6 minus, this is y1, so that's going to be 17. Let's erase so we can see some numbers. This is going to be our x2, so negative 2 minus, this is our x1, so negative 2. 2 negatives, we can easily change that to positive. So on the numerator is going to be negative 11. On the denominator, a negative 2 and a positive 2 is going to give us a 0. Oh no! You have a 0 in the denominator. That's a big no-no. So this is when we say undefined slope, okay? The slope is undefined. Well, why is it undefined? Okay, well, let's look at it. Undefined slope, it's going to have a vertical line. Let's go and plot out your 2 dots. We have a negative 2. Let me give you a negative 2 mark. And let's say this is 17. This is, let's say, a 6, okay? So when x is negative 2, the first dot is up 17. When x is negative 2, there's another dot at 6. So if we were to connect these dots to make a straight line, it is a vertical line. And remember, if we can make an n out of that line, that means there's no slope. So this is undefined, or you can say no slope. Okay. There are 3 forms of linear equations, students. Okay. The first one is called point-slope form. The second one is the slope-intercept form, and the third is called standard. Now, the slope-intercept form, students, is y minus y1 equals the slope times the quantity of x minus x1, excuse me. Now, sometimes we use the hk to denote the x1 and y1. So sometimes you're going to see that y1 is replaced with k, and then x1 is replaced with h, but they are exactly the same. Now, the features, which, hey, what's so special about it, or why is it easier than the other? Well, easy to locate is this. You can find the point right away. The point is usually x1, comma y1. Now, if you're using the HK notation, which on your quiz and your exam, we are going to ask you to put it in the HK form, then the point is just going to be HK. And you can identify the slope immediately, right? The slope-intercept form, students, as you know, is y equals mx plus b. Now, it's easy to find the y-intercept because it's always that b value. And remember, we write the y-intercept as an order pair. X is 0, so we write 0, comma b. And of course, we also know the slope. The standard form, it's probably the most work out of all of these. It's going to be ax plus by equals c, where a and b and c are all integers. That means no fractions or no decimals, okay? You can really find the x-intercept easily by setting y equal to 0. Okay, and then you can find the y-intercept by setting x equals to 0 and solve, okay? Now, your slope for the y, as you can see here, I'm giving you a quick hint here, but you don't have to memorize this because you can always work it out. The slope is going to be negative a all over b. So we're going to use these later. Now, these right here, students, are just sort of like a quick hint of how to find the x-intercept easily and the y-intercept easily, but you don't have to memorize that because you can just work that out. Okay. Now, you have a few lines in your notes to write this down, so please just hit pause and write all of these down so that way you don't have to rush. Now, first, we want to write your equation in point slope form. Okay, remember, it could also be, we could use the x1 and y1 or h or k. Translate to the slope-intercept form, which is this little guy over here. That means we want to distribute the slope, we want to add or subtract, and then we want to solve for y, aka get y by itself. Again, just hit pause to copy it down before moving on to the next set of examples, okay? Examples 1 to 4. Write an equation in point slope form, slope-intercept form, and standard form for the examples above, and then graph each. So let me just copy down the points that we have above so I don't have to go up and down. So number 1 is 3, 5, and 9, 8. Number 2 is -7, -11, and -20, -37. Now number 3 is 5, 18, and 0, 18. So 5, 18, and 0, 18. And let's see, -2, 17, and -2, 6. -2, 17, and -2, 6 are the points for the examples above. All right, so we have these already, and we're going to follow the guideline. Ready? It says write an equation in point slope form. Well, the point slope form is given above, so remember, you do need to know these, okay? So the point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Or we could use the h and k. Either one, it's exactly the same, okay? So your x1 and y1 is going to be the point. Remember, we found the slope already, so let's get the slope from above. The slope we found is right here. That's 1 over 2. So 1 over 2 is the slope. So now we can just go and use either. Pick this or this. You get to choose, okay? So y minus, let's just say we're going to go use this. Okay, so that's your first one. So y minus y1 is 5 equals the slope. We found it from earlier, which is 1/2 times x minus. This is x1 right here. So that's going to be 3. So we're going to box that up. Now, what if we go and use this as a point? That's okay too. So y minus, this is your y1, so 8 equals, the slope is still 1/2, and your x, your point coordinate, it's going to be 9, it's x minus 9. So either one is acceptable. You get to pick your point. Now, those are the points of form. Now it says slope-intercept form is next. So we want to, based on this, to translate in slope-intercept form, we distribute the slope and add and subtract and solve for y. So we can pick the blue or the pink. It doesn't matter because you will get the same exact slope-intercept form, okay? So we're going to distribute the slope. So be careful with distributing. So y minus 8 equals 1/2 x. 1/2 times -9 is going to be -9/2. Then it says, then solve for y. So to solve for y, meaning that we're going to add 8 to both sides. So that's going to cancel. So y equals 1/2 x. Well, 8 students, we need to have a common denominator. So that's going to be 8/1. The common denominator is 2. So we are going to multiply top and bottom by 2. This will give us, on the top, we don't need to do anything. So that's still going to be -9/2. On the bottom is now 16, because 8 times 2 is 16/2. The denominators are the same, so we can combine those. We know the denominator is going to be 2. -9 and a positive 16 is going to be a positive 7/2. So this right here, students, we're going to box it up because this is our slope-intercept form, okay? So slope-int form. This is the point slope form. Okay, so we got 2 out of the 3. Now the third form is the standard form. Well, standard form, we cannot have fractions at all, students, so we have to clear out your fractions. Well, we already learned how to clear out your fractions. So I'm going to rewrite this equation again. Remember, to clear out your fractions, you are going to find the lowest common denominator and then multiply it to each and every term. Well, the LCD for this one, students, is 2 because there's only one denominator. So you're going to go in and you're going to multiply each and every term by 2 or 2/1. That's the same, okay? So 2 or 2/1 is the same. Then that will give us, moving over here, 2y equals, when you multiply by the LCD, the denominator should cancel. So 2 and 2 will cancel. So we are going to end up with just a 1x or just an x. Over here, we can definitely reduce your 2 and 2. So 7 is left. So 7 is left. So we're going to write the 7. I'm trying to get it different. So plus 7. Now remember, if you look at your standard form, let me move it up. Do you guys remember seeing the formula where A is in the front? Okay, so A right here is in the front. So it goes AX plus BY equals C. So we are going to move it to where X is in the front. Remember, this is 1X if you want to think of it like that. So to move it to the front, we will subtract X, just like this. Okay, so now it's -X plus 2Y equals a positive 7. We normally don't like a negative in the front, students, so we are going to multiply to -1 to every term to make the first number positive. So this is now a positive 1x. Well, a -1 times a positive 2y is now negative 2y, and -1 times 7 is now a -7. So this is our standard form. So standard form is right there. All right, guys, so as you remember, we got it down to the standard form. So our next task, for this example, is to graph it out. So I'm going to move to a new screen because this was the recording from last time. So we are going to go up to this one. Okay, so we got everything down. I'm going to write it over because that recording all of the steps. I took a little break because class started, so now I'm picking up where we left off. I'm just copying down all of the different equations that we found. You already have this on your paper, so that's your HK form. This is your slope-intercept form. Okay, so this is your point slope, aka HK, point slope, aka also called HK form. Okay, this is your slope intercept form because it has a slope and y-intercept. Then we also found our standard form, so all of this. Okay, so this is your standard form. Okay, so it says here we need to graph it out. So I do need you to go find a ruler or an ID or a straight edge. Okay, graphing it out, it's really easy. Whenever you guys are graphing it out, I love the points of form, aka HK form, because you can see a point right away, right? This is your x coordinate, so 9, comma. This is going to be your y coordinate, so that's going to be 9, comma 8, okay? And then your slope is 1/2. Now, obviously, you were given 2 points to begin with, so we can sketch that out as well. So I'm going to make 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 9, comma 8 is that dot. We can graph 3, comma 5, 3, 2, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, up 3. Okay. Now use your straight edge and connect your line. Now if you're going to use your slope, then you're going to go up 1, right 2. Now you can also go down 1 and left 2. That should work as well. So again, use your straight edge and connect those 2 dots, okay? Or you can start at 9, 8. I'm not going to go up because I'm kind of running out of space because I don't want to invade number 2, but you can go down 1, okay, and then right 1, 2. Down 1, 1, 2, and so on and so on, okay? Okay, let's do number 2. Number 2, the slope was already found from above. So can you do me a favor and write it right there? Hopefully you said 2 from above, okay? So we're going to do all 3 forms. So the first is going to be points slope form. And point slope form is super easy. We are going to y minus, okay? So let's say that I'm going to use that point. Well, y1 is negative 11 equals, the slope is 2. x1 is negative 7, so x minus a minus 7. 2 negatives will make it a positive. So our first HK form, aka point slope form, is this. Okay, if you choose that first point. Yes, you can definitely choose the second point. So if you're using the second point, I'm going to give you both. It's going to be on the first one, y minus y1. Yes, you can think of that as y1 as well, because either point, it's okay. And then this times equals the slope times x minus a minus 20. And again, we need to simplify this down to 2 negatives, change it to a positive, and box it up. So this is just your HK form, okay, point slope form. From there, according to your guidelines, you're going to distribute and then get y by itself. So either one's fine. Since I have more space to the right, I'm going to distribute this. So y plus 37 equals 2x plus 40. Then get y by itself. So now y equals 2x, 40, take away 37 is now a positive 3. So students, this is your slope intercept form. Okay, box that up. Now from here, for this one is super nice and simple. There are no fractions or decimals, so all we have to do is to move the 2 to the other side. So I'm going to copy this back down so I can move the 2x to the front. Okay, standard form, x is going to go in the front. So now we have a negative 2x plus a positive y equals 3. But we talked about this. We don't like that negative in the front, students, so multiply it by a negative 1. So now we have a positive 2x. If we're multiplying by negative 1, all of the signs are now going to change. We can have negative everywhere else except that front number. So this is your standard form. So we have all 3 already. All right, so now we are going to sketch this out. And again, sketch it out. You can just simply plot your 2 dots, or you can use any one of these equation. Now, for this one, I'm going to use this. Can you guys see that the y-intercept's at 3 and the slope is 2? And if you look at our grid, I don't have like 20 some odd tick marks or 30 some odd tick marks. So it's just going to be easier for me to use the slope intercept form. I'm going to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I'm just going to go, the y-intercept's 3, so go up 3. The slope is 2, so up 2 over 1. I'm out of space on the top. I can go, so go down 2, left 1. Down 2, left 1, down 2, left 1. The more points you do, the straighter your line. And yes, take out your ID or a ruler or a straight edge and connect those dots, okay? That's exactly right. So as you can see, this time I'm not using the 2 dots given because those 2 dots are way too large and I don't have enough space to plot those. Now, number 3, again, we found the slope above, so it's number 4. So I would like for you guys to roll up, go write the slope in there. Okay, hopefully you wrote the slope for number 3 was 0, and the slope for number 4 was undefined. Okay. Well, how do we write the point slope form? Same exact thing, okay? So point slope, you can pick this or that. I'm going to do both. Y minus 18 equals, the slope is 0 times x minus 5. Yes, technically you can leave it just like this. Over here, you can go y minus 18 equals, the slope is 0 times x minus 0. Well, x minus 0, that's fine. You can leave it like that. Or you can go, okay, y minus 18 equals 0 times anything is 0. That's okay too. Same thing with this, right? This could be seen just like that because 0 times, anything is 0. These are all right now, students, point slope form, okay? Point slope form, aka HK form. Okay. Now the second part is going to ask for our slope intercept. So slope intercept is when we move the y over. So if we move the y, I'm just going to add 18 to both sides. Okay. So y equals 18. Well, that's it. The slope is 0. So what does y equals 18 look like? I'm going to go and label this just, let's say, 9, 18. I'm going to make 2 tick marks, okay? Well, the slope of the slope of 0, we know is horizontal, and the y-intercept is like this, okay? So that's exactly right. Now, if you want to, could we have gone and write 0x plus 18? Sure, that's also okay, because in front of your x is the slope, and the slope is 0, because 0 times x is still 0. So that is your y-int form. The standard form is moving the x in the front. But if we look at this, when I subtract 0 from the left, well, subtract 0 is still going to be 0 to the left. So, and 0 doesn't have negative. So technically we can say, okay, subtract 0 plus y equals 18, but 0 is not a positive or negative, so we can get rid of it. So now that's the same thing as saying, okay, 0x plus y equals 18. Whoops. 18, that's your standard form. Or y equals 18. All of that is exactly the same. So standard form. So this one is super simple because of due to the fact that the slope is 0. Okay. Last one is undefined. So what does that even look like, right? What's an undefined slope? Well, an undefined slope, meaning that we know there will be a vertical line at, okay, if we're going to plug these in, here we go. -1, -2, okay. Looks like we got 6 and 17. So I'm just going to 6, 12, and then 18. As you can see, x-axis and y-axis, they can be labeled differently. If you do not number your tick mark, we are always going to assume that it's going to be 1. Okay, so on the bottom, -6, -12, -18. We have 2 dots, -2, comma, +17. So +17 is going to be near the 18 tick mark. -2, 6. So, well, that's -1. Okay, -2, comma 6. So I'm going to go, okay, -2, comma 6. As you can see, these are the 2 dots, so we know what the line should look like. And we talked about the different kind of slopes before. So let me connect these first. But what do the equations, right, look like? They are all going to be, okay. So we are not going to have any y equals in here, students. We're just going to have an x equals. And the reason is this. Can you guys look at this? This line only intersects the x-axis, okay? Because it only crosses over the x-axis, you would only have x equal to -2 for all 3 forms. Yep, that's exactly right, okay? Over here, we have y minus 18 equals 0. Technically, y equals 18 should be okay for all 3 forms as well. Okay, so when you have a 0 slope or an undefined slope, they are unique because they only cross over one axis. So that's why your equation only has one variable. Can you guys see that? Okay, so that's why. Okay, the last few examples of this. Write an equation in point-slope form, the slope-intercept form, and standard form for the examples above. I should say below, right? Then graph each. And then this is it. 2 more and then we're done. We are given this a slope and a point. So the first one is point slope, which is really easy. Oh, excuse me. AKA. Oh my goodness, excuse me. HK form. Okay. So y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1. So this is your x1, this is your y1. So y minus 5/2. And then the slope is -3. So x minus, this is your x1, so -2. 2 negatives will make it a positive, so we do need to change it. So leave it like that. Your answer for the point-slope form is going to be just this. Okay, box it up. Next, it wants us to rewrite it in the slope-intercept form. So as you remember, we will distribute the -3. So I'm going to use a different color and write this over so I can distribute the slope. So that's going to give us -3x. This is going to give us -6 and drop down the y plus 5/2. Now we do need to move the 5/2 over, so we are going to subtract 5/2 to both sides. That will give us a common denominator. So as you can see, this is the same as 6/1, so times is by 2. Okay, so that's going to move it over here. So now y equals -3x, students. We have a -6 times 2. Okay, so I'm going to write a -12. Oops, -12 over 2. Then we are taking away 5/2 currently. So y equals -3x. and then this is going to be a negative 17 over 2. We can leave it like that because that is in the form of our slope int form. Okay. Next, we want to write it in standard form. Now, in standard form, students, we cannot have any fraction whatsoever. So I'm going to copy this back down because we are about to get rid of your fractions. To get rid of the fractions, we are going to multiply each and every term by the lowest common denominator. In this case, it is 2. So 2y equals negative 6x, because 2 times negative 3. Then the reason we multiply by a lowest common denominator, so the fractions are going to be reduced. Doop, doop. So now we're going to have 17, or negative 17 in this particular case. Then we move the 6 in front. Okay, so add 6x to both sides. And since that's going to give us a positive 6x, and then drop down your positive y equals negative 17, this is going to be our standard form. So those are the 3 forms, okay? Standard. Okay, so we need to sketch this out, or I wouldn't say sketch, graph it out. We can graph it however way we want, but since they gave us a point, students, I'm going to plot the point. So this is 2.5, negative 2.5, so I don't need too many tick marks. So I'm gonna go and label, maybe I'm gonna do 5 tick marks to the right, 5 tick marks everywhere. How about that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of that. First, plot your dot, which is negative 2, and then negative 2.5, and then the slope is negative 3. Okay, so negative 2, which is here, and negative 2.5. This is your first dot. Your slope is negative 3, which is the same thing as negative 3 over 1 or 3 over negative 1. So if that's the case, we are going to go up 3 and then left 1. Okay, so I'm going to use this because that's positive 3. So go up 3. So remember, this is negative 2.5. So up 3 means I'm now positive half. And then we're going to go to the left 1. So left 1 will give us that space. And then we're going to do it again. The more points, the better. So 1, 2, 3, and then make sure we go left half. Okay, I have 3 dots. That will really help me out with the straight line. And then connect those. Remove my straight edge. Okay, guys, last example. Yay, yay. All right, the slope is given to us is 7 over 2, and you're given a point 14, 50. So remember, a point could be seen as x1, y1, or x2, y2, whichever subscript you want to use. Sometimes we call it h, k, okay? So your point slope form is going to be y minus, I'm going to use k this time just to be slightly different from before, but students, it's exactly the same as if we were to say this is y1 and this is x1, okay? So this is your x1, y1, or h and k. So y minus our k value is 50. Our slope is given at 7 over 2. So x minus, this is going to be 14. This is the point slope form. We're just going to box that up. And remember, to get to the slope intercept form, we will distribute our slope and then solve for y. So distribute. So y minus 50 equals, you know what, let's write it again because I don't want to mess up our beautiful point slope form. Okay, let's copy the question down again. Y minus 50 equals 7 over 2 times x minus 14. This way I can make all the mess I want. Okay, so y minus 50 equals, distribute the slope out, so that's 7 over 2x. Now 7 over 2 times 14. So that's kind of like 14 over 1. We do want to reduce, so that's going to give us 1 here and 7 here. And so now we have y minus 50 equals 7 over 2x. 7 times 7, we are going to multiply horizontally. That's going to give us a 49. Okay, and then in the denominator, 1 times 1 is just 1. We are now going to add 50 to both sides. And so, finally, our slope-intercept form, I'm going to write it over here, y equals 7 over 2x, negative 49 and a positive 50 is now a positive 1. Box that up. Now, standard form, students, is when we cannot have fractions or decimals at all, so we would need to multiply each and every term by the lowest common denominator, and our lowest common denominator, we only have 1, so that is going to be 2. So multiply this by 2, multiply this by 2, and multiply this by 2. And so this is now 2y. A 2 and a 2 is going to cancel, so equals to 7x. 1 times 2 is going to be 2. Now we do need to move the x in the front. Okay. And so now we are going to have negative 7x plus 2y equals to 2. Now remember, we want to get rid of that negative number in the front. So multiply each and every term by a negative 1, or even divide each and every term by negative 1. So positive 7x minus 2y equals negative 2, and that is our standard form. Okay, so all three forms are boxed up. Now we just have to graph our a line. Okay, now as you can see here, you are given a point and a slope, but that point 14, 50 is like way too big. And look at the grid that we are given, it's not very large. So I'm going to use this point right here to help us graph. The y-intercept is at 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make tick marks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and then y-intercept's at 1, so I'm just going to start at positive 1. Your slope is positive 7 over positive 2, so I'm going to go up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then over 2. Okay, I don't have any more space on the top, but I can go down 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then left 1, 2. So 3 dots. It's good enough for us to make a nice straight line. Don't forget, take out your ID or your ruler to connect your dots. And that is it.